In a sprawling Mumbai slum, where tin roofs bake under the relentless sun, lives a young girl named Meena. She wakes not to an alarm clock, but to the cacophony of 1,000 lives crammed into a few square kilometers. Her day begins with a mission: securing water. She joins a long queue of women, of children, plastic pots in hand, waiting for the single municipal tap that serves hundreds of families. The water trickles for just 2 hours a day. Back in her one-room shack, which she shares with 5 family members, her mother coughs, a persistent rattling sound, damp walls, polluted air. Meena's dream isn't of becoming a doctor or an engineer. It is the simple, urgent hope of a full meal before she sleeps. Poverty for her is not a concept. It is the taste of stale bread and the constant gnawing uncertainty of tomorrow. Hundreds of kilometers away, in a remote village in rural Odisha, a farmer named Shankar faces a different, yet familiar battle. His small patch of land has turned against him. The rains, once predictable friends, are now erratic foes. Deluges that wash away his crops, or no rain at all, leaving the soil cracked and barren. His debt to the local moneylender grows with each failed season, a heavy chain around his neck. His children, bright and eager, attend a school with a leaky roof and a single overwhelmed teacher. Their education is as fragile as the monsoon. Shankar looks at his weathered hands, hands that know only how to till the earth, and wonders if they will ever be enough. These are not isolated stories, but the lived realities of millions. Human faces behind statistics, heartbeats within the graphs and charts that measure a nation's poverty. To say that poverty is merely about not having enough money is like saying a drought is merely about a lack of rain. It misses the vast, interconnected web of suffering. Poverty is a multidimensional monster with many heads. Each head inflicts its own brand of misery. The most immediate is hunger, not just the absence of food, but the anxiety of not knowing the next meal. The mother who eats last and least to feed her children. A child stunted, a mind clouded by malnutrition. Then inadequate shelter, fragile homes that offer no protection from heat, rain, or cold, and too often, no sanitation. Health is a luxury the poor can ill afford. The grim choice: seek treatment and face financial ruin, or suffer in silence. A vicious cycle. Poor health reduces income, worsens nutrition and living conditions, and invites more illness. It's a trap that's hard to escape. When families struggle to eat, education becomes secondary. Children pulled from classrooms, the cycle renewed. Beyond classrooms, social exclusion silences voices and denies rights, discrimination for economic status, caste, or community. Poverty is not just an empty wallet, it's an empty stomach, a leaky roof, a failing body, a silenced voice. For decades, India drew a line, the poverty line, to quantify deprivation. Traditionally, it was based on consumption, a basic basket: food grains, pulses, milk, and small non-food items. The minimum daily spend defined who was poor. A blunt instrument, simple but crude. If the line was 32, 31 was poor, 33 was not. A narrow, one-dimensional view. It offered a single number but missed other dimensions, like measuring health by height alone. Families just above the line could still lack safe housing, clean water, or schooling. Were they truly not poor? The line was set too low, defined survival, not dignity, measured spending, not deficits. Recognizing limits, a holistic lens emerged, the multidimensional poverty index, a smarter, more compassionate way. Like a full-body checkup, MPI looks across health, education, and living standards. It shows how families are deprived, the combinations that matter, helping target solutions that build an ecosystem of well-being. Since independence, India's fight against poverty has been slow, uneven, yet undeniable. In the 50s and 60s, over half the population lived in extreme poverty, dependent on the monsoon. Policy shifts and economic reforms spurred growth alongside persistent efforts to uplift millions. From the early 90s to the 2010s, poverty rates fell dramatically, hundreds of millions lifted. MPI tells an even stronger story. Between 2005 and 2021, roughly 415 million exited multidimensional poverty. Improvements in sanitation, clean cooking fuel and housing translate into fewer child deaths and healthier homes. Yet many hover just above the line, vulnerable to shocks, illness, crop failure or job loss, as COVID-19 reminded us. Progress is real and should be celebrated, and it must spur us to redouble efforts so no one is left behind. Poverty in India has many addresses and identities. It concentrates in Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh, regions lagging in infrastructure, industry, healthcare, and education. Southern and western states generally fare better, with growth, governance, and human development investments. A child in Kerala faces far better odds than a child in rural Bihar. Two Indias, divided by geography. Beyond place, social identity matters. Scheduled castes and scheduled tribes bear a disproportionate burden. Centuries of discrimination, denial of land, menial jobs, displacement, and destroyed livelihoods created structural poverty. Even today, their poverty rates remain higher. MPI starkly shows wide gaps, especially in nutrition, sanitation, and housing. Female-headed households face higher risks, lower earning capacity, limited resources, and the double burden of care, making poverty a social justice issue. The roots run deep. Colonial rule de-industrialized India, exploited resources, shattered traditional industries, and left structural poverty. Inequalities in land and access to resources persisted. Growth often hasn't been job-rich. Many still depend on low productivity, climate-vulnerable agriculture. A vast informal economy means low wages, no security, few benefits, and poor working conditions. Healthcare shocks wipe out savings and push families into debt. Malnutrition harms body and mind. Poor education traps people in low-skilled work, a human capital deficit. Discrimination by caste, tribe, religion, and gender blocks access to jobs, credit, and basic services. Women often lack asset control, mobility, and opportunities due to unpaid care burdens. As long as these hierarchies persist, groups remain trapped in disadvantage, poverty perpetuated by exclusion. Understanding these roots is essential to design solutions that actually break the cycle. The Indian state has rolled out ambitious social protection, from the public distribution system to employment and education schemes. Under the National Food Security Act, food grains are a legal entitlement, strengthened by tech reforms like biometrics. MGNREGA guarantees 100 days of rural work, raises wages, empowers women, and builds assets, roads, ponds, canals. Sarva Shiksha and the right to education expanded access. Midday meals fight classroom hunger and boost enrollment. Jan Dan brought millions into banking, enabling direct benefit transfers that cut out middlemen. Toilets end open defecation. Ujwala's LPG means clean cooking. Awas Yojana advances housing for all. Together, these schemes build a floor of basic services and security beneath the most vulnerable. The safety net is significant and most powerful when last-mile delivery is timely, transparent, and reliable. The scale remains daunting. India still has the largest number of poor people. Gains are fragile. A single illness, drought, or downturn can undo years of progress. Last-mile delivery to isolated and excluded communities is an administrative and logistical challenge. Access has expanded, but quality often lags. Teacher absenteeism, weak infrastructure, poor learning, thin public health services. A skills mismatch hampers job-rich growth, even as the economy modernizes. Climate change intensifies shocks for the rural poor. Resilience is urgent. Deep-seated social inequalities continue to block equitable development. We must improve service quality, foster inclusive, job-rich growth, build climate resilience, and dismantle structural discrimination, creating pathways to prosperity. India's fight against poverty is a saga of struggle, resilience, and hope, not a simple tale of success or failure. From a time when half were poor to hundreds of millions lifted from multidimensional poverty, progress born of collective will and policy. We must move beyond statistics and see Meena, fighting for water in a city slum, and Shankar, battling debt in a parched village. At the heart are human beings with dreams and an unyielding desire for dignity. Understanding their lives is the first step to just, effective solutions. Building a fairer India is a collective responsibility. Government, civil society, the private sector, and every citizen. Demand better governance, ensure services reach the last person, support inclusive growth, invest in human capital, protect the vulnerable. The fight against poverty is for the nation's soul, that birth should not dictate destiny. There is reason for hope. With empathy, knowledge, and unwavering commitment to justice, we can ensure every Indian lives with dignity. That is the untold story waiting to be written.